Can you imagine not being able to work or get the education you desire because you have responsibilities elsewhere? Well, that's how many women felt before second wave feminism took place. Second wave feminism was an event that greatly impacted America through its economy and society. Its economy changed by giving the U.S. lower unemployment rates. The change in economy also required 2 paychecks to stay in the middle class. This event gave women the ability to use birth control since when it was invented in 1950 and released in 1960, and also solved and created many financial problems for families. Second wave feminism was an enormous turning point for women in the U.S. The issues that were addressed were major issues that needed to be fixed dramatically. This started the revolution and fight for the rights of women all over the U.S. Second wave feminism addressed many issues, those issues being sexuality, reproductive rights, family, the workplace, de facto inequalities, and official inequalities. Can you imagine not being able? Reproductive rights was one of the most major issues, if not the most major issue, that second wave feminism had to address. The birth control pill had been released for public use in 1960. Many disagreed with the availability of birth control for women, but many women saw the need for birth control as it prevented unplanned parenthood and got rid of a major stress issue for women with an ambition to have a career outside of the home. But almost instantly after the pill was invented, a flurry of laws was placed making birth control illegal for married couples, and this is where second wave feminists came in. They protested the impractical law, and eventually the law was repealed in case Griswold versus Connecticut in 1965, stating that it was unconstitutional for the government to prohibit married couples from using birth control. The next issue that second wave feminism addressed was family. The social norm for married women at that time was to keep the home and bear children. Even though many women disliked the life that they led, there seemed to be no other way. For centuries, it has been a norm for women to stay home. At the same time, Christianity said that the man is the head of the household, which also proved an obstacle for women who thought differently. In addition to those reasons, a woman had a responsibility to her family. She had to contribute to her family in one way or another, and because the wage gap between men and women working seemed impossible. Then, second wave feminists turned things around, with the wage gap closing up more in the early 1960s, and got rid of a huge obstacle for women who wanted to work. The next issue that was addressed was the workplace. If you were a woman before second wave feminism took its effect, and you wanted to work, you would most likely be single. According to statistics, about 33.9% of women worked in 1950. About 20% were married, and only 10% were mothers. If you worked, you would only be able to support yourself, much less a family. This was the result of an enormous wage gap. In 1960, women made 60.7% as men did on average. In 1987, women made 66% as much as men did on average. Though it only got better by 6%, it was an enormous change on a linear scale. Even though it still isn't perfect, the fight to close the wage gap started a ripple that is turning into a wave that will eventually wipe out the wage gap completely. The next problem that was addressed was de facto inequalities. De facto inequalities, or unofficial inequalities, were about society and how the mainstream viewed women. Women were viewed as the second sex. Society placed norms that said women should stay home, that they could not feel the same things that men could. Betty Friedan wrote the best-selling book The Feminine Mystique, in which she explicitly objected to the mainstream image of women, stating that placing women at home limited their possibilities and wasted talent and potential. Official inequalities were also present as an issue. Official inequalities refer to laws prohibiting abortion and birth control for women and married couples, as well as the workforce inequalities. There are many perspectives and or opinions of the effects of second wave feminism. Some say that the effects are mostly positive and beneficial, while others say that the effects were unnecessary or more detrimental. The following are 2 interviews with observants of the movement. Alright, what is your opinion on the effects that second wave feminism has left us with, and why?
Well, when it comes to things like birth control, I don't have anything against birth control. I I remember when abortion Roe versus Wade came into effect with abortion, and I don't agree with that. I believe that babies are miracles from God, and I don't think that we should mess with that for any reason whatsoever. That's my opinion. And as far as men and women in the workplace, if a woman can do the job to the same capabilities as a man, there's a lot of clerical jobs and office jobs and that type of thing where women are very good. Yes, I do believe there should be equal pay. As far as the physical aspect of it, there's a lot of jobs where men are more qualified because they're just stronger physically. So,
as you can see, this interviewee mostly disagreed with the effects of second wave feminism. She agreed on the fact that birth control should be available to women, was neutral on the fact that there were less jobs for women, saying that there are lots of jobs that women can't or shouldn't do, and disagreed on abortion. What is your opinion on the effects that second wave feminism has left us with?
Okay, the second wave of feminism has left us with?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not too sure what they're referring to by the second wave. Are they saying what's going on now?
Pretty much, like, it was back in the 1960s, and it dealt with a lot of issues that had to do with, like, family, reproductive rights, and the workplace, and how there were so many inequalities between men and women.
I see what they're referring to. Okay. So, what do I think the effects are? We have more opportunities to do more different jobs. Prior to that, women were pretty much classified as, you could do office work, you could be a secretary or receptionist, you couldn't be the boss, you couldn't, very few women were able to run their own businesses. And so I like the effects of it personally because it's opened up a lot more careers for us, a lot higher paying jobs. Are they interested in the fact that we're still underpaid from a man doing the same job? You have a man and a woman doing the same job, and on the whole, women are still underpaid. It's called the glass ceiling. So I think there's still more work that needs to be done. But that not only allowed us to have different jobs, but it allowed us to get into sports. You have women who can be professional sports and be professional athletes now.
This interviewee agrees with our opinion that second wave feminism is a beneficial movement, and that it was extremely important to life today. She agrees with the fact of birth control availability. She also agrees that women should be paid equally to men for doing the same job. She also says that the fact that women have more job opportunities now is a very great thing. In the end, second wave feminism has left us with many deserved rights and many more responsibilities. Some things, such as the wage gap, still needs lots of improvement. But ultimately, second wave feminism shaped life as it is today.